The real thinker doesn't exist. Hi, welcome to Popcorn Philosophy. Now, before you go grabbing your tinfoil hat and your evidence that the moon landing is a hoax, I want to be clear that I'm not talking about conspiracy theories here. We're talking about art history. This video is going to be sort of a follow-up to my last video where we talked about creating a definition of art. Relative to that, I have a pretty simple question this time. Where is the thinker? Now, this probably doesn't seem like the sort of question that deserves its own YouTube video, since you can just Google it. I mean, if you're anything like me and you get the Washington Post in print, you saw the thinker just the other day. Oh, I don't read this, by the way, I just get it for the crosswords. There's the thinker, right? I mean, not in my hand, obviously, but in the National Gallery of Art. Case closed. But hold on, if this is the thinker, then what about this, or any of these? What are they? Are they fakes? Are they copies? Okay, we're moving too fast. Let's slow down a little bit, take a step back. Museums don't display forgeries, and if you went into the Louvre and just saw a poster of the Mona Lisa, you'd probably feel a little cheated. So what's going on here? What we need to do is figure out why we have so many the thinkers. So let's look at history. The thinker was created by Auguste Rodin near the end of the 19th century. He was commissioned to create a set of doors for a new art museum, even though the art museum never actually came to exist, and the doors were never finished during Rodin's life. So these are the gates of hell, the doors that were never completed during Rodin's life. And if you look up near the top, you can see that's our guy. So while the doors were never completed during Rodin's life, he did take several pieces from the doors as inspiration for solo projects, the thinker being the most famous of these. Let's talk for a second about the process of sculpting. Rodin worked in a method that had been around since the Renaissance. Rodin would work in clay until he had the sculpture in the way that he wanted it. He would then send it to a model maker who would create a plaster model. From this plaster model, you could either make a bronze casting or a marble carving. So once Rodin has the plaster version, he can make any number of thinkers. The one sitting in the National Gallery of Art is one such thinker that he made for one Mrs. Simpson. Now, there are two more important points that we need to hit before we can come around to finding the real thinker. First, Rodin actually took the plaster that was made to create bronze castings on tour. He took it to different salons around Europe. So does that make the plaster the real thinker? I mean, it's the first time the thinker was exposed to the world. The second point is, if you're anything like me, when you saw this thinker, you thought, seems a little small. And you're right. There are actually two different thinker sizes. There's the original size and what's called the monumental size. Now, resizing is not unheard of for sculpture in the 19th century. A lot of artists would resize pieces to fit different commissions or in order to increase a piece's saleability. But for Rodin, playing with scale seemed to be part of the creative process itself. This is how we get the original thinker, sized as he would have been on the gates of hell, and the monumental thinker, which is the size that you've seen outside. The smaller one is around 70 centimeters and the bigger one is around 180 centimeters. That's roughly 2¼ feet and 6 feet, respectively. Now, Rodin didn't actually scale up the thinker himself. He commissioned a new plaster to be made. Does this make the monumental size any less real than the original size? Let's return to my claim from the beginning of the video. The real thinker doesn't exist. Now, with most works of art, we know what we mean when we say real. Real means original. Take the Mona Lisa, for example. The real Mona Lisa is hanging in the Louvre, and it was painted by Leonardo da Vinci. At this point, it's over 500 years old. Any Mona Lisa that wasn't created by da Vinci over 500 years ago is either a forgery or a copy. If you know what the Mona Lisa looks like, chances are you've seen a copy. Any work of art that's made from the same materials as the original Mona Lisa and claims to be the real Mona Lisa is a forgery. On the other hand, any posters or pictures of the Mona Lisa are just copies. They're made by a completely different process, and they don't pretend to be anything that they're not. But this original distinction only makes sense when you can say the artist made that one, but not that one. With the different casts of the thinker, you can't really say that. Sure, there are copies that are made after his death, but let's put those aside. He oversaw the casting of many thinkers, even if he wasn't personally responsible for every step in the process. If Rodin oversaw 3 different castings of the Thinker, say for the sake of simplicity that he made one on Monday, one on Wednesday, and one on Friday, there's nothing inherently different about the one that he made on Monday, even if it's the first one he made, than the one that he made on Wednesday or Friday. They're all the Thinker. In this case, original becomes a meaningless term. At this point, we might be tempted to say, okay, then the plaster model, or the clay sculpture that was created for the plaster model, was the real Thinker. There are 2 replies to this. First, the plaster and the clay are just stages in the process. It wouldn't make any sense for us to say that a sketch Da Vinci did of the subject was the real Mona Lisa, just because it was made before the final product. And second, being the original doesn't matter because the artist was involved in making several Thinkers. He's not making forgeries of his own work. So if you say, I saw the Mona Lisa, and you mean something other than you went to the Louvre and saw the Mona Lisa hanging there, you're not really making any sense. As we said, anything that wasn't that one result is either a forgery or a copy. With Rodin, we can't apply the same metric. So he's not making forgeries because it's his own work, but he's also not making copies because they're not imitating some original. So when we look at this Thinker, we're looking at something that's not an original, not a forgery, and not a copy. I said at the beginning that there's no real Thinker because all the Thinkers that he made are real, even if they don't all look the same. Thanks so much for watching. I had a lot of fun making this, and I hope you had a lot of fun watching it. I was thinking a lot about Walter Benjamin's The Work of Art in the Age of Mechanical Reproduction while I made this, so if you're looking for a great essay on how capitalist modes of production changed the world of art, I highly recommend it. I'll leave a link down in the description. Like I said at the beginning, this was sort of a follow-up to the last video I made where I talked about definitions of art. I'll try to link it here or here. I still don't know where. Anyway, see you next time. The real Mona Lisa, the real